If you have a C3I wedge from like midnight purchase on Golf Channel, like that signals who you are as a golfer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You got a clean oil can Vokey. That also sends a
Right.
signal.
Or the guy that has like the Tiger Woods ping putter like from his dad from 35 years ago. You're like, all right, I'm not betting this guy.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
right.
get my cock cleaned.
All right, Zin. Time for another episode of the Vanity Index podcast. It's powered by JLab. I'm in New York. Chad, where are you?
Back in Los Angeles, buddy. I'm missing you. How long are you going to be gone?
Oh, I come back in just a couple of days. So
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we were both in New York 2 weeks ago for the Ryder Cup, although I never saw you once. So
I know.
How was your week?
You know, I'm really glad I got to experience it, right? Like, it obviously was a little bit of a letdown because I was walking into it being like, I think this might be the greatest sporting event that we've had in the last 10 years. Like, I thought that it was a possibility that was leading up to like this amazing finish. And I guess it kind of almost did there at the end, but it was a little bit like Rome where it was like a little bit too late. So I'm really glad I experienced it. But I do have a lot of notes about like what I didn't like about the Ryder Cup. What was your experience like?
I mean, we had a crazy week that week, and being out on site at Bethpage, it was a little out of control. And it always, I always forget that it's kind of a weird event to watch, especially the first 2 days, because there's only 4 groups on the course, at one time. And so it gets really, really packed. And we were trying to get back to the clubhouse. We ended up getting stuck in this corner of the golf course by like the 11th or 12th tee box. And they shut down the walkways. And so the only way that you could get across was to walk all the way back 2 holes and then go in a big circle. And there's just like a crosswalk there. There's no one coming through, but the officials were holding us and saying, you got to wait till all 4 groups play, which was like a whole nother hour. And the crowd was like getting agitated already, like mad at these like officials who wouldn't let people cross, even though it was a par 5 and there was nobody even on the tee yet. So, it's just like weird stuff like that. But for Sunday being on site was electric. Like the comeback attempt, I feel like in some ways that Sunday singles, like Team USA's kind of comeback, kind of redeems the team in a big way. It was like they were getting their butts kicked and they came back, didn't quit. When Cam Young made that putt on the 18th hole to win that match, it was the craziest energy ever. And then JT kind of following it up, it felt like, oh my God, we've got a chance. And, and then even Russell Henley, like hitting that bunker shot to, birdie range, shocked he didn't make that putt. But then to have Shane Lowry be the European player to like ice it, you can't hate Shane Lowry. Like if there's anybody on that team that matters the most to, it's that guy. And to have a birdie putt to like win the Ryder Cup is got to be like the ultimate for a Shane Lowry, or really any golfer, but for him especially, it was cool.
Yeah, we were watching it back at the apartment, and my wife's Irish, so she loves Shane Lowry, and she loves Rory McIlroy as well. And I was like, this is cool. Like Shane has an opportunity to be the I guess the retainer of the cup, not the winner of the cup, which is still confusing to me. Like there was a lot of questions about that, and like America kept saying that that they retained it, didn't win it, but they did. Anyways, I loved his celebration. Like, going back to like when Rory won the Masters, and we were talking about like what makes good entertainment and good television is that like it only matters to us if it matters to them, and like it really matters to Shane Lowry. Not to say that it doesn't matter to the Americans, but like he danced like a full Irish jig on the green when he did it. And like, as much as I'm, a patriot and I was rooting for the U.S., like, you can't help but be like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's a cool way to end, I guess.
It's a great moment. Yeah.
But, like, okay, so here are some of my thoughts about, I haven't played Bethpage. Have you?
I have, yeah, several times. When I was back, like, by the way, it felt like it was in a past life, because I used to take like this was before I knew anybody in golf. I used to take my like ping hoofer bag and like get on the Long Island Railroad out to the train to Ronkonkoma, and then take a taxi. This is like pre-Uber. Take a taxi to the golf course and put your name in, and you could get on the black course most of the time you get on the black course as a single, back then, and I think it was like $60 because I had a New York State ID. It was the best, and I always played with like the most random group. It was super fun. And then there's the red course out there, which is actually also a really good course. Anyway, I've played it. Still think it's maybe the most brutally hard golf course I've ever played, which I don't know if this is going to be your note, but like that's my big note. Like you basically took the teeth out of one of like golf's like great brutal tests. And, you know, these guys were hitting in the rough and like it didn't matter. But anyway, go ahead.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, I was walking through the rough being like, this is not deep at all. And then when you watch it on TV, especially, it was like these guys were spinning the ball out of the rough, which I feel like that was not supposed to ever happen. You know, and you have the lore of this course that like the black is a very difficult, you know, they have a sign that says like this is not for the weak of heart. And I do think that the big swing and a miss that Keegan and I guess the U.S. team made was the setup. And I understand the analytics of it all and that Americans are bomb and gouge. And if you can make it so we can hit the ball as far as we possibly can and still have an opportunity to get really, really close, and that helps us out. I'm just not sure if I believe that stat anymore, just because the Europeans have a lot of really big hitters and they can putt. And it came down to putting there, which I didn't think that was, like, going into it, I thought, like, hitting fairways was probably going to be the big differential, not the putting. Well, I had the same experience. I got stuck for a while. It was really hard to watch golf there. And I don't know how you fix that, but like, I guess maybe there were so many people there. It was like really hard to see any golf. Like there was one time where we were just like, you know, they teed off on 1 and we were like, let's just go to 11 and like wait for them to get there so we could see them. And that's when I got to see like every group go through. And that sucks because it's like, I sat on the ground for 2.5 hours waiting for golf to come to me. And then the other thing is that we had like chalet suites or whatever, VIP area on the 16th hole, and we went on Friday. And I feel like you got to have all those chalets on the front 9 because almost no one got to 16 on that first match on Friday. We were like, is anyone ever going to come through here? And we're watching the TVs. And then I just found myself just watching the Ryder Cup on TV while being at the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a bummer.
That's kind of a miss. I mean, I think the best time if you're going to go is to go on Sunday because you've got 12 singles matches. It's over, you know, it's like a 6-hour window, so it is kind of compressed, but there's so much action, so much golf happening. I think that's probably the move as opposed to going like one of the early days. On the course setup thing, you know, I think it's interesting because Europe's always had this. Obviously, Europe like gets up for the Ryder Cup in a way that U.S. doesn't. You know, the players, they have this history, they have this tradition. There's a lot of stuff that I found out this week that I didn't know in terms of like how seriously the Europeans take it. They had like 3x the number of player support staff on Ryder Cup Europe, like supporting the team than the USA side does. And they just decide to do that. You know, there's not like a rule or regulation about sort of how big your sport team can be or how much money you spend on that. But it was really real and noticeable. Like, you know, they have a lot more people out there kind of supporting the team. They have people who are full-time Ryder Cup Europe staff, even in off years, you know, just working on it. And you can just see the like payoff of that culture. It's like a real club. It's like a real team. They treat it like it's always on in a way that I think our thing doesn't. I think another interesting thing is like there's been this narrative about does the President's Cup kind of hurt Team USA? And I, you know, obviously I don't get to make the rules, but I think an interesting solution for USA, you know, Ryder Cup team would be to like create a new sort of Team USA organization that runs Team USA for both the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. So there's some consistency across, you know, because they play it every year, but it's different people at the President's Cup, you know, behind the scenes running it. You know, it's the PGA Tour versus the PGA of America, which runs, you know, Team USA for the Ryder Cup. I think having some consistency there for this sort of like our American team, whether it's President's Cup or Ryder Cup, would help a lot. I also had an interesting idea for the President's Cup kind of related to this in terms of like making it a little more fair. Since the President's Cup is USA versus international, I thought, what if it rotated sort of every other year where it was like 1 year was USA versus international, 2 years later it's like Europe versus international, and then it's USA versus international. So you kind of mix in the Europeans so they get a chance to play as a team in a non-Ryder Cup year as well, and that kind of gives the USA team a break. I thought that could be kind of interesting. And then the other thing on the teams, Europe's always had like one or two players that you're kind of like, who is that? You know, I remember like Victor Dubuisson had like an electric Ryder Cup, 10 or 15 years ago. This year, it's like these are all superstars. With you could maybe make the exception of like a Rasmus Højgaard being like, but probably the weakest link on that team. And you look at everybody else; they're all PGA Tour superstars. Bob McIntyre, who was kind of a question mark in Rome, now like multi-time PGA Tour winner, National Open champion,
just
in Canada.
Won the Dunhill.
Won the Dunhill. Has won, I guess he's won the Scottish Open, right? Yep. So like, legitimate like golf, superstar. And now it's like, I think that European squad's got more firepower. And so I think it's going to take a real, like a real look at how to make the USA team more successful going forward. All that being said, I think it's like a few of those putts drop early in the, Friday or Saturday sessions, and all of a sudden it's a lot closer. And even during that comeback on Sunday, it was not a foregone conclusion that Europe was going to win. I mean, if like Henley had made that putt, all of a sudden they're kind of on their back foot. Now, it would have been an almost impossible task to sweep it, but it wasn't impossible. And I think like, that comeback really saved it for me.
You can't talk about the Ryder Cup this year without talking about the American fans and kind of how they treated the Europeans and specifically Rory, and then kind of Rory's response. And everyone's kind of split on this. I was there on Friday, so it was really subdued. We were getting our ass kicked, so no one was really chirping. You're obviously so much closer to it with also filming Full Swing. What is your take on kind of like everything that transpired, especially as directed towards Rory?
I think it was out of line. I think it's sort of, if it was maybe more competitive, it probably wouldn't have gotten so ugly, but it might have, I don't know. But because we were getting our butts kicked, there wasn't a lot of like cheering to be done for the USA team. So instead, all that energy, gets focused negatively against the opponents. And, it's interesting to me that Rory is such a polarizing figure. I don't know if I like necessarily understand that, because his Masters win was just such a uniting moment for like global sports. And I've always found Rory to be just like this very, I don't know, he's been a great interview, and he gives a lot more of himself than a lot of these players do in terms of like letting you know how he feels. But he is really polarizing, and it was very polarizing out there. And obviously, I think that like doing the Ryder Cup at Bethpage, you knew you were going to get a rowdy crowd. And we had talked about this previously on the show that like, I was joking around like someone's going to die, it's going to get ugly. I think it was definitely fostered, and I think it did get out of control. It doesn't take much to like start tossing some of the bad actors, and then all of a sudden people get the memo that like this is not cool. I thought it got out of control. I thought it was, it was a little bit of what they were asking for, and then they kind of broke contain. I think they were hoping to bring it right to the line, and then, unfortunately it got crossed in like a major way.
All right, time right now for our segment called Overheard from JLab. From the lab to the course, JLab Tech is trusted by the pros with gear engineered in the lab, built for every practice, every flight, and every moment you need to be locked in. Right now, Chad and I are both using the JLab microphones, as you can see, and we are both using JLab headphones as well. They make the best stuff that respects your budget. Look for the blue box at retailers everywhere, or shop jlab.com. Okay, Overheard. I overheard this because it came out of my mouth. One of the big things, the big storylines on the last day was this rule that if someone gets hurt, then you put a name in an envelope and you don't play. And so that's what happened to Hovland. He hurt his neck the day before, couldn't go, and then Harris English was the kind of like last man standing, or was holding the smallest.
The man in the envelope.
Yes, yeah. He was the man in the envelope. And I think, I don't think it mattered. Like people saying like this is so dumb and it would have changed anything. I don't think it did. Because if I'm being honest, I would have taken Victor Hovland with a bad neck and a one-on-one over Harris English and how he was playing anyways. So I'm not really sure. Like, I could have seen him win that match over Harris English. Here's my thought. What if we changed the rule to, okay, if that happens, the captains have to play against the other captain, and they have to be the anchor match? Because that would be awesome. If Keegan Bradley got to go against Luke Donald, that would be such a fun thing. And what if it came down to them? Thoughts. I recognize that a lot of times maybe the captains are too old to do this, but not this year. It would have been so fun.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would have been amazing. And you know that Keegan probably had his sticks with him. Just waiting for the call up. I think it's one of these rules that, like, I guess this was enacted in like the late '80s, and then they talked about changing it back then because it was kind of the same thing. It went against us back then, and then they're like, oh, we got to change this rule, and then it never got changed. I think it's for what this event has become. You can't have like a scrub become just a halved match. I think you have to basically either have like a system of, you have an alternate, like Alex Noren, by the way, had just won at Wentworth. He's an assistant captain. You obviously have Luke Donald, who's still a current player. You got obviously Keegan on our side. You got Gary Woodland, assistant
Webb
captain on our side,
Simpson
could have played. Yeah, these guys could have all stepped in.
Sneds.
I think that, you're like, this event's become such a major, even though it's an exhibition, it's become such a major sports event. There's so much money on it. There's so much gambling and wagering. I think the idea of like a player being able to withdraw for injury and then it just turns into a half feels a little bit like, I get the spirit of it. This is like a tradition, but I think, given that it's become sort of golf's like biggest event in some respects, I think they gotta adjust that rule. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, like, because a captain might be too old to play, like if you had like, like Tiger right now, it would be like, well, we don't want him to play right now if he was the captain. But yeah, maybe an assistant captain, because
you do the envelope rule, and it's like you have a name in the envelope of who your alternate is, who your replacement is. Yeah, I think that's one that I would hope are paying attention to and are trying to change.
There's a lot of stuff you can knock on the American side, but there's a lot of stuff you can't knock when it comes to the European side. It's time right now for our segment, Can't Knock It, brought to you by Knock Around, proud partner of the Vanity Index podcast. These guys make seriously awesome shades, and now they're the official eyewear of the PGA Tour. Hold on, let me get my sunnies.
I'm gonna go real aggressive with these sunnies this morning. We're going full wraparounds.
Ooh, I like the wraparounds, Chad.
Come on, baby.
Yeah, these are some knockarounds right here. They also make a wide selection of performance shades designed to heighten contrast and definition and actually help you see the greens more clearly. It's actually wild how much detail you can pick up with these things. If you guys want to try a pair, head on over to knockaround.com/golf and use code VanityIndex20 for 20% off your first order. Again, that's VanityIndex20 for 20% off. Some exclusions apply. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, so one of the things I think that we really can't knock the Europeans on, which I can knock the Americans on, is how good the Europeans are at singing songs and chanting for their team. Yeah. I have a video of the top 5 best chants that I think people will appreciate.
Oh, God, it's so good. Zombies, I gotta go like zombies Rory dance. I mean, in your head, Rory is like, it's so perfect, and it could not describe better like what happened out at Bethpage.
Yeah, it's annoyingly perfect, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Because you're right, he totally is in our head, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And got that, and if you're if you're hatting and you know it, clap your hands is so fantastic. I just think as Americans, we need to get better at this. And and maybe not even just for the Ryder Cup, but for like our sporting events, like for NFL and college football. Like, why aren't we good like the Europeans are when it comes to like, the soccer hooligan chants?
The funniest part about the chants is like you can like hear the European accent in the chants.
Yeah.
And it's like normally when you're yelling full voice, like the accent doesn't come through, but there's just something like very European about even the intonation of those chants, which I really appreciate. So yeah, you definitely can't knock the Europeans in their chants. I gotta go. I mean, the Rory Cranberry song is like all time great chant. I mean, even back to like when Tommy Fleetwood and Francesco Molinari were like winning points in Paris, it was like the, Tommy Fleetwood, Molinari. Like, it's so good. I love those guys. So yeah, no, the European fans like really get up. It's cool. It was interesting too on Sunday, because the ticket prices had dropped, on the sort of whatever aftermarket, because it was like a blowout.
Yeah.
The fans, there was a lot more European fans there. I mean, I think you felt like they rallied. And I'm going to give you credit, Wells. You were the one who called this. You said, look, New York is a cosmopolitan city. There's more immigrants there than any other place. There's more Europeans there. You were like, this might not feel as much of a home field advantage. And Sunday definitely felt not quite equal, but there was definitely a European presence. And in some ways, I think that like, because it transitioned to just like rooting for your team and the USA team was playing well, it felt like how I think the competition was supposed to feel the entire time. Like there was cheering for good shots. There was, there was booing like bad shots for the opponents, but it felt like the spirit that you're looking for in a Ryder Cup. And again, I think some of that is just competitive. Like if it was close, like it was on Sunday in some of those matches, it just gives people a reason to be cheering as opposed to be jeering. Like that?
I like that. I the other thing that I think was so cool and worked so well was the nickname, especially the nickname of Fleetwood Mac, right? Like that's just, it's so good. But also in tandem with that is that they found someone in Tommy Fleetwood that really pairs well with Rory, and that is always an issue. Like we could never find anyone for Tiger, you could never find someone for Phil. And I guess with like your golf IQ and acumen, how do we fix that with Scotty Scheffler?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what Sam Burns was supposed to be, and I think, he played with Russell Henley. I was really surprised to see the order, they had Henley hit the first tee shot, a hole that really favors a fade. Scotty likes to hit fades. Henley hits a draw. Number 2 is like a draw hole. That was Scotty teeing off. So, but I don't know, like he didn't play like the number 1 player in the world the first 2 days, mainly because the putts weren't really falling. And I think like, you can kind of Monday morning quarterback all of this. I think it's like ultimately Scotty beat Rory in his singles match. That was a prize fight that we've been waiting on for a long time. And that was a great match. Like they came down to the last hole and Scotty got it done. I don't know who's going to pair well with Scotty. I think, Tommy Fleetwood's just such a Ryder Cup monster in terms of his ability to win points. I think he's now like one of the highest point total winners in Ryder Cup history. It's like him and Luke Donald, of course. People forget Luke Donald was a monster player in the Ryder Cup. So I think you just look at like the way that system fosters, people who are going to become future captains. Like Tommy Fleetwood's Ryder Cup captaincy in 2035 is going to be awesome, and he's going to be ready for it. Another one, Justin Rose, like tailor-made to be, a Ryder Cup monster. He is like poised to be a great European captain. And you just see the way that it fosters these older players as they kind of enter the twilight of their career, but can still get it done and win points for their team, who then go on to become captains. Like that's such a European thing in the terms of the system that they've built. So I don't really know. I wish I had an answer for it. I think that like, to me, it always comes back to what we were talking about earlier, where like, it's kind of about the infrastructure and having sort of built a company and been involved in like big productions and projects. You're kind of only as good as your weakest link a lot of times. And it's about the little decisions that add up. It's not like one big thing. If Scotty would have been paired with this other player, it would have been better. Or if this captain would have been chosen instead of that one. It's like the parity between the sides are always so close. The margins are so thin when you talk about like 24 of the best players in the world, that ultimately like it's the little things that are going to make the difference, if they make them at all. It's like ultimately it's like one putt drops, the other doesn't. That's really where the difference is made. So it's all the little stuff in the infrastructure I think that we could change to kind of put the team in the right place to kind of be successful going forward.
Before we set up our interview and go back out to the Ryder Cup, there's a big announcement that I think that you want to make about a little match coming up around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so today is a big day. We are announcing that we are bringing the skins game back, Wells. So you know how much I love gambling on the golf course. This has been a project that has been, I think, 5 years in the making. So after Full Swing Season 1 came out and was a success, PGA Tour was like, okay, what more do you want to do? And I was like, I want to bring the skins game back. And so this has been in the works for several years. We just announced that it is coming back on Black Friday on Amazon Prime, so the day after Thanksgiving. To me, the skins game has always been about the Thanksgiving tradition. And to me as a kid, when I was growing up, we didn't watch a lot of golf. My dad would watch the Masters and the skins game. And so for me, Thanksgiving was always, like as a little kid, football, Charlie Brown, turkey, and the skins game. And so we are bringing it back. It's going to be on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. We're going to be playing Panther National, which is a course in Jupiter, Florida, that Justin Thomas designed with Jack Nicklaus. It's a private club that really no one's ever seen on TV before. It's awesome. And we are playing for really, really big stakes. So the 4 players, Justin Thomas, Tommy Fleetwood, which is awesome, a little rematch from their Ryder Cup battle, Xander Schauffele, who destroyed Jon Rahm, and Keegan Bradley. Captain Keegan, getting the clubs back in his hands, go kind of settle some scores. What we're going to do, I think, is really fun. Obviously, to me, the tradition of the skins game really matters. So we have the old logo, we have all the old archive. What I always loved about it was the most money that these guys really ever played for, and you could feel the pressure when these putts were adding up. And so, in a world where golf is full of like so much money and these guys are playing for such big purses, we wanted to find a way to give stakes and make it feel really actually competitive. My knock on the match historically has been like, it just feels like they're not trying that hard. They want to win. It's kind of for bragging rights. They've been paid appearance fees. There's some crypto money or something that they can win or something for charity. And it just feels like, the guys are maybe going through the motions a little bit. So what we are going to do, we are paying no appearance fees. There's a $4 million purse. Each player starts on the first tee with $1 million, and they play the skins game with that money. So you could literally start with $1 million and walk off the 18th green with $0. And the first time someone wins a skin, their total's going to go up. Everyone else is going to go down. And I think that's going to get these guys paying attention for real. Because it's one thing to start at 0 and add it up, but it's another thing to be like, I've got $1 million and now I don't. I think that's going to get them really, really playing hard. So we're super excited about it. Also really excited that Amazon Prime, it'll be the first time ever that Amazon's broadcasting like live golf. The second time's going to be the Masters, which I love. They just announced they're going to be the Masters partner. So yeah, we're really pumped. Skins game is back, baby.
Yeah, and also like perfect synergy with Black Friday and selling a bunch of stuff on Amazon, and then also just being on Amazon watching it. It seems like a home run or a hole in one, I guess I should say. Let's head on back out to the Ryder Cup. I wasn't there for this interview, but you sat down and had a nice chat about golf and fashion. What's coming up after the break?
Yeah, so we have a great interview with one of my favorite people in golf. I think one of the most interesting characters in golf, Jon Buscemi, who is a fashion designer, started out in sneakers. He actually was responsible for the Truff hot sauce. I don't know if you're a fan of Truff. Oh,
yeah, the truffle hot sauce, yeah.
Truffle hot sauce, great. Just a really smart like branding expert, but a guy who came to golf kind of later in life, but is a legitimate like high fashion designer. And has like a new company that he's launched called Redan, which is all about sort of high-end golf fashion. And we had like a pretty wide-ranging conversation about kind of the state of golf culture right now, which I think is his perspective I find really valuable. And honestly, like a lot of my aesthetic, I think matches like what he is going for, obviously at a much higher price point his is. But like the idea of this old ghosts of golf, he is actually the person I heard that from. So I love that quote, golf's full of old ghosts. And he's the guy who said that for the first time. And it's fun to see somebody who is clearly as obsessed with golf as all of us are, but is doing something with it that I think kind of honors the history of the game, but also feels like really, really fresh. So enjoy this interview, which was live at the Skratch Clubhouse, our event down at South Street Seaport on Friday, the Ryder Cup week. So when we get back, Jon Buscemi on the Vanity Index podcast.
Thanksgiving has come and gone, and here comes the Skins game. $100,000 on the line for Nicholas Putt. And Arnold Palmer has just picked up $100,000.
You never ever won 100 at one time, did you?
I don't think I've won that much in my life.
All right, welcome back to the Vanity Index podcast powered by JLab. We're here at the Skratch Clubhouse. This is Ryder Cup week. I got a really great guest today. We've got Jon Buscemi, one of golf's most interesting personalities. We dragged him into the makeshift studio here at the Skratch Clubhouse today. So welcome officially, Jon, to the Vanity Index podcast. How are you?
I'm great, Chad. Thank you so much. You know, I've been a fan of the podcast since you started it. I mean, pretty recently, right?
I feel like you are the perfect guest for the Vanity Index podcast. Not implying anything about your golf game, but just the podcast was always, the goal has always been to just like bring interesting people who kind of sit at that intersection of like golf and Hollywood. And you have such a unique sort of viewpoint into that world because you straddle golf and Hollywood, but from like a fashion point of view, which I think is like, there's not that many people who do that. So you were like one of the first in the game. So I want to get into like this interview. I want to ask you a bunch of questions, but before that, we always start this off. What is your current index?
7.8. So I had to look that up before, and that definitely is a vanity handicap.
Listen, I heard something for the first time this week. So we're here in New York City. It's Friday of Ryder Cup week. We're at the Skratch Clubhouse. And I got to play a little golf earlier this week, so I went up to Winged Foot. Have you been to Winged Foot?
I have, thankfully.
It is very hard, but very good. And you know, I'm host of the Vanity Index podcast, so I got a bit of a vanity. We played the East course.
Okay, great.
So we finished up front nine. I got absolutely like body bagged by the front nine. I was like 6 or 7 over par. We're playing with an editor of a prominent golf magazine. So we go into the clubhouse, and you know, I'm like, I might need a little adult beverage to kind of right the ship a little bit, get the wheels back on for the back nine. And we run into Steve Sands, legendary golf broadcaster Steve Sands. He's like, oh, how's Winged Foot treating you? I'm like, oh, not good. It's been a rough front nine. He goes, well, are you good? What's your index? I'm like, oh, it's a scratch. And the editor of the golf magazine goes, it's an industry scratch. So that got added to the bio. I'm an industry scratch. So you're an industry 7.
But it's funny. I mean, I don't want to let the entire world know where you play golf. You can do that. But the place you play in L.A., we know the rating isn't really up to snuff. You guys, we have a friend who will remain nameless. He's a very prolific skateboarder who just joined your club. Mm-hmm. He's like a +2 now when he was like a 4 forever, forever. So
yeah, no,
I think this is the issue.
This is the issue.
Let's get down to the real issue.
Like, we're gonna really kind of dig deep here, and we need to re-rate the course in Los Angeles. I feel like the game doesn't necessarily travel playing out of our club, and it's Wells and I, and it's our good friend Sean, who was on the podcast.
Okay, good. So we can
out Sean Malto, who is in it. We talked about this when he came on the show. He shot like 66 in a member event. I mean, come on. And he said he was toast for like the rest of the year. So, so let's talk a little bit about you. So I want to get to what you're doing with Redan, which is like one of the more interesting kind of golf businesses that I've seen. But like, walk me through like before that. So you've got a long history in the fashion industry.
Right.
Like, how did you get started? What was your first kind of foray into it? And then when did golf come into your life?
Yeah. So I've been designing and customizing clothing since 3rd grade. That's this story's been told before. I don't want to bore you with the details of my 10-year-old Jon, but I was into fashion through, I'm born in the 70s, a child of the 80s hip hop and fashion scene, and was into sneakers. Probably, some people wanted to DJ, some people did art. I collected sneakers. So that kind of transitioned me. A massive sneaker collection in the late 80s, early 90s, went to college, worked on Wall Street for a couple of cups of coffee, and went into the sneaker business through DC Shoes, the action sports business. And I was basically hired as a trend forecaster, not even a designer, for a friend that ran DC Shoes, and I stumbled upon a design idea and kind of a category extension of skateboarding, a lifestyle sneaker in the early 2000s, which didn't really exist. And then that parlayed me into starting my own brand in 2011 called Buscemi. And that journey, golf didn't really come back into my life. I started playing golf in high school, screwing around. We actually had golf PE in Long Island in my high school. You hit 7 irons on the football field during
awesome.
PE. That's how back then the swing came pretty easy, but I never had like a set of clubs until I moved to California. And Steve Malbon of Malbon Golf, when I sold my fashion business, I was basically driving my son to school, going to the office once or twice a week. I was basically like a early 40s retired guy doing nothing. He's like, "What do you do all day?" I said, "Not much, but what are you doing?" He's like, "I just started playing golf again." And he took me to Braemar Country Club, and I made a birdie, with a rental set of clubs, and I got the bug, 2017.
Awesome.
So that fashion business, investing, we started a hot sauce company called Truff, and I started investing in, StockX and all these other businesses, but I was playing golf like every day. Joined Wilshire Country Club, joined another club, traveled around the world, was around Steve and Erica when they were doing Malbon. FootJoy invited me to design some shoes as a guest with Todd Schneider and Garrett Light. So I was thrust into the golf world, and I got the bug for the game and the bug for the business. Mm-hmm. So, now I'm here.
That FootJoy collab is legendary. I think really started the path of kind of golf and high fashion coming together in interesting ways.
That's
and
right.
Those shoes are still I still see them. I mean, StockX, they're you get lucky to get a pair for $1,000.
It's crazy. It's
amazing.
Really crazy, and I owe a lot to FootJoy. They gave me they basically gave me the ball in the lane and said, we have this Premier Series. What do you think you should? What do you want to do with it? And now we're on our 5th year. It's crazy how time's gone by, and we're going to do our 5th version for 2026.
So let's talk about skate culture for a second. So when we had Malto on this show, we talked a lot about the interesting similarities around golf and skate culture. And actually, we're here at this clubhouse. There's there's probably 1,000 people walking around, a bunch of really cool brands we've set up. And there was a bunch of pro skateboarders in here earlier, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we all golf," and they talked about kind of the East Coast skate culture and how that they all kind of got into golf. Now that first wave of real pro skaters are kind of in their golf eras, right? They're in their late 30s, early 40s. They're starting to play. We talk about Malto.
Right.
He's a Kansas City boy, but Malto's kind of in that category. And one of the things that he and I talked about that I thought was pretty interesting is that there's a lot of weird similarities between going into a local skate shop and going into a pro shop.
So true.
And it's just it's a place where you're there, you're part of a community. It's not like any other retail. It's not like going to a clothing store. You I remember being a little kid. I was into BMX, but it was all that stuff was at the local skate shop, and it was called Fat City was the name of the skate shop.
Oh.
Run by 2 brothers. They were fat, and
right.
They were awesome. And I just would go in there and fondle the 3-piece cranks and the fancy rims that I couldn't afford. But there'd be skate videos on, and it just kids would just hang out there, and it was the center of this culture that was about gear and about the pursuit of this sport that you were doing. But it was also about the lifestyle of it, and
right.
the clothing and the fits and the sneakers and everything that was around that shop.
Exactly right.
And I feel like you go to a golf shop, and you've been like me, been fortunate to play all over the world and played some incredible places. And I always say that golf has this unique culture where you walk into a pro shop. It doesn't matter if it's at National Golf Links, Augusta National, Braemar, or a local muni. And if you're a golfer, you feel it. You're I'm home,
And you're hunting for something special, even if it's Braemar or Portrush.
Totally.
You're where there's something in here for me.
Right, and you might fondle a Scotty Cameron,
Exactly.
You're just wandering around.
I think also, believe it or not, I was a skateboarder as well for a long time. That's how I know Sean and my friends in the skateboard industry, and I worked at DC Shoes. But I remember this. We had Danny's Rideaway in Long Island, which was BMX, 10 speeds, skateboarding, and they had lawnmowers. They fixed lawnmowers, which was very weird. But anyway, I think that the affiliation or why it's so connected is it's not just it's like we're all gearheads too. Like the bearings for the you want to you'd pick your
the
bearings out.
ABEX 6s,
right,
yeah.
or Bones bearings or the bolts you wanted, the grip tape options. It's just kind of it has that similarity, right? Like you want a 7, everyone's getting a 7 wood now, you know what I mean? Back then, it's skateboarding, oh, these trucks are out, so you got to go to the skate shop and check them out. So it's like that's the cool thing about the gear part of it, not just the gear, the actual the hardware.
The other thing too, the gear as a part of that, it's all about identity creation as well, which I think is really interesting.
sure.
Because like obviously there's a performance element to those trucks and those bearings,
Right.
but it was also kind of like who you were
It's
as
a
a
signal.
skater. It was a signal.
What's your signal?
Totally.
If you have a C3i wedge from like midnight purchase on Golf Channel, like that signals who you are as a golfer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You got a clean oil can Vokey. That also sends a
Right.
signal.
Or the guy that has like the Tiger Woods ping putter like from his dad from 35 years ago. You're like, all right, I'm not betting this guy.
Yeah,
This guy,
no, that's
I'm
right.
gonna get my cock cleaned.
Oh my God! So we talk a lot about like the signs of
There's
of
signals
a
out
golfer.
there.
Yeah,
There's a
like
lot
if
of signals.
you're gonna show up against a random player and play a match.
Yeah.
Like who do you not want to gamble with? So give me some of your like go-to tells.
Okay, go-to tell. The worse the outfit, the more money you're gonna lose. That's what I've noticed
Yeah.
for sure, because they don't care about the gear,
Right.
they care about the game.
Yep.
Especially in Long Island in the summer.
Oh, I bet.
Like this, I grew up near Garden City, and I have this kind of like waspy side of my family. If there's like a jelly donut stain on the T-shirt, on the polo, and like some old Belgians in the locker room,
You're gonna get
be
worked.
careful.
You're gonna get
You're
worked.
gonna get work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
New gear, tons of new gear, tons of like empty the bank account.
Let's go.
Let's
Yeah.
let's
This is
run
turning
it.
into an ATM machine.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny.
I always
there's
say-
so many tells.
There's
but,
so many
like,
tells. One of my favorites is the really dirty like motel towel.
Oh yeah.
Because
Careful. Like Cole Young from
yes,
Metalwood.
yes, like
He
if
has
you
like that towel from the AG,
Yes.
when he's playing in San Diego Juniors.
That's
you're like,
right. Yeah,
"Nah, dude."
AJGA. Yeah, exactly.
AGGA.
Yeah, and it's
Any
like
AGGA towel, stay fuck away from. oh,
right.
can we
You
curse?
can cuss. Yeah.
Stay away from that person.
Yeah, anything that says
or,
AJGA.
or try and roll get him next to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, throw the balls close
Exactly.
to him. Yeah, no, and just like the old Ping Hoofer, I feel like
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
a high school logo on it or like
Yeah.
a junior college.
Oh, here's another tell. Long Island this year, 60-year-old man. I don't remember his name, but we played at a very cool course this summer out in the Hamptons. He had the Ping Zing, the
irons.
irons
Yes.
from regripped.
Is he flushing it?
He's just amazing older golfer that and also didn't really care about the game. He just played
Played
up
free.
and down from everywhere, high handicap, lots of bogeys, no doubles, that type of guy.
Yeah.
Careful.
Yeah,
Be
careful. Yeah, also you see a real old 3-wood. That's another one.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that's
maybe
true.
you have a new driver, but like a real old 3-wood that you're like, this has been the bag since the mid '90s.
Yeah.
You better watch out.
If it's white,
Yes. Yeah.
watch out for white
Watch out for-
3-woods.
That's right. Yeah. That's
All
right.
white
Those
3-woods.
rocket balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things
Careful.
are missile launchers. Yeah. But a brand new grip on it, of course.
Exactly.
you know.
You see the new grips the tell.
That's it. That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about golf culture in general, like on a macro level. Like, where do you give me your state of play? Like, where's golf culture at right now?
Being here at Skratch with you guys today and I've actually been involved in golf since the beginning of this kind of cultural, I call it the culture era of golf, right? Where street culture, skate culture, fashion culture from, the guys from Sugarloaf or Malbon or students. And, I just met a guy that has a new public drip brand. This feels like skateboarding in like the late 90s. Like it started with a few brands like in 2018 and now we're in, wow, it's 7 years later.
Yeah.
And there's a whole like ecosystem of like brands for my son who's 17 who wears Metalwood like religiously. He doesn't want to wear Link Soul, no offense, right? Or other brands of that nature. I'd love to see, and then there's other brands kind of connecting like spirits brands and tech brands and Golf Plus is here.
Have you tried out Golf Plus, by the way?
I want to check it out. I want to
It's-
check it out on the way out.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I used to be like a big video game guy. I played
Yeah.
every like Tiger Woods game. I
Right.
actually kept my Xbox, like original
Just for
Xbox,
the-
just to play the Tiger Woods Masters Edition, like until the CD
The thing.
spinners broke. I had that forever.
Oh my God.
But Golf Plus is. It's like
Right.
I was thinking about putting a simulator in the house, and I started playing Golf Plus, and instead I'm like, pour a whiskey, wife goes to bed, and I'm playing golf in the kitchen. It's awesome. You gotta go.
It's crazy, and you just need a little.
Yeah,
mat.
it's just
Yeah.
not even a mat. It's like it's a little like it looks like this microphone we're holding.
Oh, no
and
way. I gotta
and
check that
VR, we'll get you in there. It's sick.
VR.
Yeah, VR.
Wow,
yeah, a little
cool.
VR, and you feel like you're there. Like
Yeah.
it puts you in the scene. That the slopes the right way. It's anyway. So unaffiliated. They're not a marketer for the show, but big fan of Golf Plus.
I also love the part of the culture that I love is, 10 years ago or whenever I started getting into golf, 9 years ago, you'd walk into an airport or into a bar, and the only way to signal someone was a golfer is they had like a Titleist hat on.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yep.
all right,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And you talk to that person anyway.
Yeah. Where are you
But-
going?
Yeah, but now you see like the Sugarloaf logo, or you see the M, or you see. It's cool for golfers to signal that they're a golfer now in the world without just an old staunchy logo.
Totally.
And then the other side of it is like you see the Seminole logo, or you see the you see that type of thing. Like, we all get excited. We're like a community. You want to,
sure.
it's
send
like
your signal.
a tribe of people.
Send your signal
skateboarding
out.
style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That always creates a story. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, did you play?
Yeah, you're in like waiting. You're in the. I always say someone should do a podcast at the oversized baggage at a airport.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's my podcast.
No, that's a
Oversized
good idea.
baggage. That's
So,
a good podcast
Really
name.
funny. I'm so glad you brought that up. So I flew to New York this week. I got in on Monday night, super late.
LaGuardia or JFK?
JFK, so
Okay.
direct from LAX. And I had my golf clubs with me. And so the like where they drop off the oversized bags, I was like, this is a party. One, there was like 4 gun cases. I was like, someone's having some fun. They're doing a little wing shooting,
Yeah.
some nice Beretta.
Some guy
shotgun
might have
cases.
a gun and a golf bag.
And they
We don't
did.
know.
They rolled away with both of them, which was funny. But then there's just like there's all these the club glove bags with like the top 100 logo on it, and then one that said BF. And then I was sitting there waiting there, and I'm looking, and then up walks Brad Faxon. He's
No
like,
way.
I'm like, Brad, that's your
Amazing.
bag. He's like, yeah, thanks. He's like wheels it away. I'm like, you can get a little golf in. He's like, yeah, of course.
It could be cool, like you should do Vanity Handicap from JFK.
Just from the
for
oversized
US
bag.
Open next year.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you have that. That's your idea. I can't be.
Maybe we'll
stealing-
do it together. We'll collab.
That's
on
right.
that.
We'll collab on it. Let me ask you about, we're talking about sort of the tribe and the signals that golfers send to each other. For you personally, like, what's your style rules? Like, how do you dress? Oh, and actually, as a sort of precursor to that, I think one of the cool things about golf fashion right now is it's like as the workwear culture has just gone super casual and post-COVID, like people don't get dressed up for work anymore.
right.
There's not any opportunities in life to like put an outfit on like
Right.
that often, But going to golf is.
That's right.
It's a chance to like put on a fit, and I'm not a particularly fashionable guy, like especially compared to you, but like I really think about like what I wear to the golf course, and it's like kind of I was telling my wife it's like kind of the only time I like get dressed up, and
And
I
you might
love
be
doing it.
confused sometimes too.
For sure. So how do you put a fit together?
Right.
What's your kind of style? On the
So
course?
essentially, I've had this kind of preppy, military, utilitarian style since I was in high school. Whether it was workwear mixed with like a luxury brand or a luxury brand belt with a hoodie and Jordans, and there was always some luxury or very well-made piece of apparel in my life, right? And then getting into golf, you said it perfectly. It's an opportunity, but that opportunity I thought became, for me, an opportunity for all day. So if I want to go to my club or if I'm invited to play golf somewhere else, I don't want to have too much, I don't want to have to transition the outfit too much, because I remember when I first started playing golf a couple times a week, I felt like I was putting a uniform on and a costume even. I don't want I never want the costume, And some guys I've seen, the most well-dressed guys in LA or New York, go to the club, put their beautiful outfit on, and put on like literally the worst golf outfit you could imagine, made from plastics, and just, I'm like, what happened here? And that was really kind of a catalyst for Redan. But yeah, I thought the costume element of golf was an opportunity.
Well, there's so much more now. I mean, it used to be like if I was going to play golf in the afternoon, but I had to be in the office earlier, it's like everybody would know. It's like you're playing golf. You know, you're wearing a polo, some slacks. It's like you look like you're going golfing.
Right.
But now you could pull a fit off that works from that moment when you show up at the office straight to the club.
Right.
Just change your shoes out and you're off and going.
And like I like to wear, in California, sometimes I wear shorts, but I generally, and some of the clubs we play in LA, you have to wear pants. I generally now am only playing golf in pants, and I'll maybe change the polo shirt after, or I'll put on a t-shirt when I'm leaving the locker room, right? Nice t-shirt. So maybe the pants stay for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
Or the sweater can go back on for the rest of the day.
Yep.
I feel like that's luxury, right? Not having to change too many times.
Yeah.
Throughout your journey from golf to work to the house. And
Yeah.
that's
is
something
luxury.
there.
Yeah,
That is luxury.
Well said. Let me ask you, since this show is ostensibly about Hollywood, and you run in that circle, who in your opinion is the best dressed Hollywood golfer that you've played with or seen?
It's an interesting question. Wow. Hollywood meaning just living there, or
Just like,
or someone like that,
Celebrity.
a celebrity. Does it have to be like current day?
No.
I mean, I love the old Pesci. I love the old Pesci kind of double pleated, with the kind of the satin, quarter zip satiny, thing with the fedora and the sunglasses. I think that's something special for me.
He still wears it.
Yeah, you still see it. He
looks good.
He looks good. I think that's up there for me, and it's cool to see him every time and time again at the club. There's also some other guys that are just not in like there's guys that live in Hollywood that aren't like necessarily in like the public eye that you see. There's a guy named Laurent who's at Bel Air. I mean, the guy looks like straight out of Central Casting of like a he should just like cashmere and the perfect pleated pant and the old school foot joist with the leather midsole, carrying his Mackenzie bag down the fairway at Bel Air, with maybe it's his wife, with like a woman with like trousers on as well and a polo shirt. She looks like Audrey Hepburn or something.
Yeah,
I love that kind of style.
That's awesome.
Like Arnie.
Yeah, the famous Arnie
mid
with the
70s Arnie
cigarette Arnie with the cashmere and the
cardigan,
yeah,
and the kind of like that cricket long placket polo. I think that's timeless for me.
Yeah, we'll put the image up, but there's that famous image of him and Hogan standing next to each other.
Yeah, and I think he's leaning on a club or something.
It's just so iconic.
It's iconic,
swaggy.
I mean, that's like on the mood board. But also like on my mood board is like, Harrison Ford in the 70s and like south of France, or Denzel Washington in the 90s, with his turtleneck on, striped turtleneck on, is Duvall, man, like to Tiger in the 90s, obviously. But like there's so many, it bounces to Pesci, to Duvall, to Bob Hope, Dino. There's so many references, man. That's what's so sick about golf.
Totally. One of my favorite. So mine, I think, would be Andy Garcia.
Oh, I forgot about Andy. He's still very, very well dressed.
Very well dressed. And there's a photo that I've seen of him playing in the 2004 Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
Okay.
And our club sent more people to that. I think it was like a record-breaking year. We had like maybe 8 or 12 guys in the field. Some like a huge number playing the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. It was a lot. It was like all kinds of guys there. And they all are wearing they look like 2000 Sergio. It was like lime green Adidas, just performance wear, white belt. You remember that era, like the Dustin
Jay
Johnson
Lindbergh era,
Jay
white
Lindbergh, belt, like slacks. And then you have
like 2001 too.
Totally. I think it was like 04, but it was like that era.
That era, yeah.
And then you've got Andy Garcia, and he's just in like cashmere, and he's got slacks, and he's got an ascot on, and I'm like, those guys all look ridiculous.
Yeah.
He looks like $1 million, and he dresses the same even still.
What's another one I just came to me? Costner, like in the beginning of the year, was playing golf out somewhere, and they were covering him recent playing, and then like his kind of like legacy of outfits.
Yeah.
Really sick.
Really sick?
Really, really sick.
Let's talk a little bit about Redan. So you've started a new golf company.
Yeah.
What's the thesis behind it?
So Redan was born from a few different places, but the original idea was kind of eliminating that costume, right? Redan is a promise, really, I think, to myself as a designer and a maker of making garments that are almost heirloom, that can last forever, things that you not necessarily would wear every single day, but you would wear them to special occasions and to essentially the top tier of your outfit, or the idea was, I want to make golf clothing for guys that could wear this to the best, golf rounds of their life, right? That's one. Two, Redan from the beginning wasn't just a brand. I don't think the world needs another golf brand, that is wholesale and sell it at a country club. We wanted to make something really special, so we put a member element where you have to become a member and be invited to be a part of Redan. So that gives it a little bit of exclusivity and scarcity, which I always like. I always like to have things. Listen, I don't want to say it's a one-upsmanship thing, but I also think where I'm at in my life, I like to have things that are special, that are made well, that can last forever, and also that not everyone has. And a part of Redan as well is a concierge service where we do signature events, and you get to book and try and book tee times at different sought-after places around the world. We have really great partners, in the Caribbean, in Scotland, in Canada, Southeast, New York, courses where not everybody has the ability to get on through relationships and partners. We have the ability. But I think the biggest thing about Redan is we're creating a community of guys that like the finer things in life, love the quality of the gear, and like to be a part of a community of guys that are like-minded.
Yeah, it's
like
awesome
that.
stuff. You got the logo right there on the sleeve.
Yep.
People are starting to recognize it.
Great.
I wore some Redan clothing to the Happy Gilmore 2 premiere, which
saw that.
which was
Thank you very much.
my biggest moment of my recent life,
Right.
and it was like, this is the ultimate Hollywood golf intersection. I need an outfit.
And you looked unique, actually, within the crowd. There was a lot of people kind of dressed down,
Totally.
I'd say.
Yeah.
You stood out. I'm not just saying that because it was Redan. It was
No, I felt like I stood out because
the
of
blazer looked great.
Yeah, the garments, they fit great, they look great, and I felt both like I was a part of this old Hollywood tradition, but also the new, and it was really cool. And I mean, I look great because of your stuff. So
Thank you.
Congrats on
No,
that.
welcome to the team.
I love to see people wearing it. So all right, so to wrap up, before we got to let you go, but a couple rapid fire questions. So the Vanity Index podcast that we always like to do. Ready for some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Walk or ride?
Walk. I might not look like it, but I like to walk to my ball.
Favorite club in your bag?
7 wood.
Least favorite club in your bag?
5 irons. 5 driver, 5 iron.
What's your current swing thought?
Get to my left side.
When'd you start doing that?
Ron Del Barrio, 2017. It's never gone.
He's the best.
Get to your left side.
Get to that.
Get there.
I took lessons from
If
him.
you get there, something decent's gonna happen.
I took lessons from him at Witset, and he used to
course.
tell me, "Get over
Rest
to
in peace.
That's right. Get over
Get
to
to
Moore
the tennis
Park.
court. Oh, get to Moore Park.
Get to Moore or Ventura, I guess. Get to Ventura.
That's right.
Turn to Ventura.
You got to get over there.
You got to get over there.
You got to get over there.
Then he
If you
moved
don't,
to, then
nothing
he moved
good's
to
gonna
his
happen.
simulator place, and now it's get to Riverside.
Exactly.
You gotta
Do
get
you
over
look at the ball?
He
doesn't.
He
I
doesn't.
can't do that.
I can't do that.
do
either.
that. I look one ball in front of the ball.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's all right. Dream golf foursome, alive or dead?
Frank, Dino, and Bob Hope.
Epic.
Something like that.
That'd be, I think that's probably happened in our club.
Exactly.
That foursome's been out there. Okay. What is the lowest score you've ever shot?
73, Wilshire, at the 1 over at our Invitational, actually.
Wow. How'd that do for your handicap?
Didn't do really great. It also got me interested in a kind of a health choice, psilocybin.
There you go.
Yeah, microdosing of psilocybin brought me to a 73.
That was the first time I played Golf Plus. Was maybe not microdosing psilocybin, but first
Right.
VR experience was maybe macrodosing it.
Macro,
Played
Yeah.
virtual golf at a ski trip at night.
Is that right?
It was awesome.
That's amazing.
We'll get you in there and try
I
it
need
out.
to go low. I never shot under par, but I mean, maybe it's in the cards. But people say, or I think there's a stat, shooting one over par, like legitimately at a real course from the back tees, like that's probably 0.001% of the golf
No
world.
question.
I don't know. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, no
But
question.
I don't know if the 60 is in my never.
Yeah, it's tough to go make that many birdies. But all right, so
Right.
I actually know the answer to this question, but our audience doesn't. Have you ever made a hole-in-one?
I have.
Where was that?
Atlantic Country Club, 2023 on the 11th hole.
I remember you texted me a video of that.
I had to
It
because
was
we were
so
just
sick.
kind of
We were
like
just talking.
we
We just met.
talking. We just met. I was very happy.
It's so
Because
awesome.
also that's if anyone knows that hole, it's not a hole-in-one hole. I mean, it was. Listen, most hole-in-ones are lucky, but this one.
This
was
one
insane.
felt good.
It felt really good.
It's so awesome. All right, favorite course you've ever played?
Royal Dornoch in Scotland. That's my favorite walk I ever had. I played really well. It was the first day of my first Scotland trip. I think that kind of added to it. Yeah. I mean, that's really. I mean, that's the one. I could say a few other. It's so hard, but
Yeah.
I'll use that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
What's one course that you haven't played but you want to play?
I'd like to play Augusta. I think everyone says that. I think I deserve to play it. I'm just kidding. If anyone's watching, I know a couple of members there. You're not supposed to ask, but if you see this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
You gotta put it out there.
Yeah, I think also I'd love to go play in Nanea, which I have a lot of friends that have been there, and I love Hawaii, so I think that's those two.
Yeah.
I'd like to play those two.
So are you a adult beverage guy on your course? Favorite adult beverage?
Yes.
What's
I'm
your drink?
adult Beverage. I'm known to get a Negroni in a to-go cup, which is
Ooh.
very not common, but I'm a Negroni guy because you don't have to drink too many of them.
Yep.
You have one big one on the front and one big one on 9.
Yeah,
On
and
10?
it's kind of built for like walking around Italy anyway. You know, it's like
Exactly.
kind of the perfect. I
Yeah,
never even thought
exactly.
about that, but that's a
Yeah,
great
I
idea.
did. You know, also there's a espresso martini canned drink called Night Owl. I'll give a shout out to Night Owl, which is showing up at a few golf courses. I think an espresso martini on ice to give you a little bit of juice too.
Yeah.
You get tired out there.
Yeah.
You need one on 15, 16. I'm
That's right.
falling asleep.
Takes
man.
you up, levels you out.
You need to get leveled up.
Yeah,
You know?
I love it. Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you on the Vanity Index podcast,
Thank
Jon.
you so much. I really appreciate it. I feel honored. Thank you very
Of
much.
course. No, and you're the man. I can't wait to everybody check out Redan.
Check out Redan, redan.club.
That's great.
Go check it out.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thanks, my
Thanks,
friend.
man. Thank you.